Welcome, everyone, to our very first episode of Upstream. I'm Dr. Sarah Jones, Evaluation Officer at Houston Endowment, and I'll be your host. Collective learning powers partnerships across civic engagement, arts and culture, and education. Our webinar, Upstream, takes you straight to the source, bringing together researchers and changemakers to talk about what's working, what's exciting, and where we go from here. We're excited to launch this new series to share our learnings with the broader community. For those of you who don't know, Houston Endowment has an in-house learning and evaluation team, and our job is to make sure that knowledge informs our work. Upstream gives us the opportunity to share that information and that work with the broader audience, the listeners. Today, we're taking a look at an exciting community-driven approach to the certified teacher shortage, grow your own programs. I'm here with my Houston Endowment colleague, Carlos Villagrana, and we're thrilled to have two experts with us today, Dr. Martha Salazar Zamora,
Hello.
the superintendent of Tomball ISD, and Dr. Monica Trevathan, an evaluator for Steuck Associates.
Hi.
Tomball serves 22,000 students northwest of Houston, and Dr. Z has dedicated more than 37 years to public education in Texas. She was the 2024 Superintendent of the Year, 2023 Superintendent of the Year, and 2024 AASA Superintendent of the Year finalist. And she leads one of the fastest growing and highest performing districts in the state of Texas. So we're so excited to have you with us.
Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm very excited.
And Dr. Monica Trevathan works with Steuck Associates, a San Antonio-based evaluation firm who works primarily in education, but works across K-12, higher education, and works with nonprofits and government to do evaluation and research. We're so excited you can be here with
I'm
us.
very excited. Thank you for asking me over.
For this project, Steuck Associates has served as our evaluator for this Grow Your Own initiative that we'll be talking about today. A big part of what we do at Houston Endowment is to look at the lessons that we're learning and apply those to our grant making. As the 8th largest nonprofit in Houston, we invest about $100 million across our portfolios, and a fourth of that goes to education. I'm going to let each of our panelists introduce themselves and, as a personal touch, tell about an important teacher in your lives. Dr. Z, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to start with a huge thank you to the Houston Endowment for the opportunity to partner with something so exciting as this. I wish I could tell you that I started off with the mindset of wanting to be an educator, but I really, really didn't. I was born with a severe, profound hearing loss and had an ossicular chain implant at the age of 17 and a half, actually. And so I had a love for speech language pathology, which led me to education. And I knew that's exactly where I wanted to be. My career has been very robust, as you mentioned, many years. I've had many titles, but they are really just that. They're just titles. At the end of the day, superintendent, classroom teacher, whatever I've had in between, it's been serving Texas public education, serving students that are in the classroom each and every day. And the key to that is ensuring that we have the right educators in the classroom to serve our students in any system that I've been a part of. I am a proud public school educator, as you've heard, and I'm very proud to currently be the superintendent in Tomball ISD, which is, you mentioned, a high-performing school district, but I have to add, the only A-rated school district in all of Harris and Montgomery County. I'm super proud of that because of the work that we're doing and because of the work that our classroom teachers are doing when they make the magic happen in the classroom each and every day. So excited to be a part of this and really to find out this is the first. That's quite an honor. Thank you again.
Thank you. If you'll tell us a little bit about your teacher.
Yes. The teacher that I thought of was very easy. So being a deaf ed child, I had, before we really knew what therapy dogs were, I think I had a therapy dog. We just didn't know it. I was a trendsetter, perhaps. My dad and I adopted this dog, rescue dog, and Mannix would walk with me to school every day. But not only did that, the journey was to get to school safely, but Mrs. Flores allowed for Mannix to enter the classroom. So Mannix sat by the teacher's desk, sometimes under the teacher's desk when he was being naughty, each and every day. Well, why was that important? As a deaf ed child, that was my connection, and I think she realized that, and she allowed for this to happen every day. So much so that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we both received, not just me, but Mannix. We received perfect attendance awards because I love school and I never wanted to miss a single day. But the story is beautiful not because of that, but because of the teacher. That teacher that taught me what a true educator is really all about. She attended my high school graduation, my first bachelor's, my only bachelor's, my first master's degree, my second master's degree, and when I became a doctorate in education.
Oh, wow.
She showed me what being a lifelong educator, being connected to your kids truly means. Now, not all teachers can do that, and not all people are live in the same proximity where that could
Mhm.
happen. But I knew upon graduation, she would be sitting in the area at graduation at commencement, and she would be cheering me on as proudly and as loudly as my own parents. So I learned very, very young, all the way through the rest of my life, what the true meaning of a lifelong educator means. And so I carry with me in my office, I have the photo of us when we received our perfect attendance award because she just reminds me every day the power of a beautiful lifelong educator.
Awesome. That's such a great story. Monica, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and share a teacher who was influential with you?
Sure, absolutely. Let's see. So I am, first of all, really proud to be here and to represent Steuck and Associates with this first podcast. I'm very excited about that. I am originally from southern New Mexico, and I've been here in the Houston area for 30 years now. So I actually live around the Houston area, just south of Clear Lake, a little bit south of Clear Lake. And I'm also an educator. I taught secondary math here in Texas. I actually started my teaching certification in New Mexico, moved over here, had to catch up with my courses, and not everything transfers. All the hurdles you have to go to, but ended up with my certification in secondary mathematics. Since then, I became an instructional technologist with my master's degree from here at University of Houston, Clear Lake, and then went on to my doctorate, where I focused on research in STEM and learning, and also doing teacher professional development. And then also received a program evaluation certification. So since then, I've been working with local school districts, nonprofits, national organizations on designing and implementing learning programming, and also doing evaluation. I've worked on some federal grants, and as an evaluator and as a researcher. So I'm very, very happy about the way my whole scholastic endeavors have really tied up together to do this type of evaluation. And then I'll tell you a little bit about my teacher that I have want to feature today. His name is Antonio Lara, Mr. Antonio Lara. When I knew him in high school, he's now Dr. Antonio Lara. And he was my science teacher for both chemistry and physics, and I spent my junior and senior year in his classes. He taught, physics one, chemistry one, my junior year, physics two, chemistry two, my senior year. And I just felt like I spent so much time with him, you know? And the best thing about Mr. Lada is he was from our community. We're in a small area, southern New Mexico. He was born and raised there. My parents knew his family. We all knew each other. And because of that, there was a really great connection. He was able to speak to us high school kids the way we needed to be spoken to. He knew our lingo, he knew our language. He just got us. And he really made learning fun. Science, particularly physics, was not very easy for me, but he taught me to work hard, and that working hard was fun and learning was fun. And that has really stuck with me all the way. So you can have fun, learn, and be successful all the way through. So I really attribute that to Mr. Lotta in those couple of years.
Thank you. Carlos, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Carlos Villagrana. I am a program officer here at the Houston Endowment, working on the education team. The work that I lead here is focused on effective educators. So how do we decrease the number of uncertified teachers who are currently in our classrooms by supporting them and helping them to be prepared and get their certification? And then also, how do we help folks into the classroom fully certified? And so Grow Your Own is part of one of those initiatives under that sub strategy. Um, and so, yeah, I feel really privileged to be able to be in this role and serve as many ways as a you know convener to bring people together, but also to help capture some of the learning that's taking place, and then help inform the decisions that get made here locally, but also at the state level as well. So we're super excited about that. But a little bit more about me. So I came to Houston back in 1998 to be a bilingual teacher in A-Leaf ISD. And when I came, I grew up in Oklahoma, small town. I'll talk more about that in a second. But Houston was just like another world to me. There were um, so many people from all parts of the world. You heard so many languages in Spanish. I spoke Spanish growing up in my house. It was just fascinating to me that we had like bilingual education here. We didn't have that in Oklahoma growing up. Um, and so I really just kind of fell in love with Houston and all it had to offer. And we made, Houston home. From there, I went to go work at Regional Service Center as a bilingual literacy specialist. Then went to go be a school principal of a small charter school over in the Gulfston area. And then went to go work the last 11 years before coming here, running a teacher certification and training program for Yestra Public Schools, where we train and certify teachers for about 7 different local education agencies here in the Houston area. To learn a lot about teacher preparation and some of the challenges that we are facing now, and that we were facing then, that we're still facing now, which is how do we make sure that we have a great teacher in every classroom? And it's kind of, you all highlighted this, right? The importance of having a great teacher there. For me, is no different. The person that I would highlight would be Ms. Wilcoxon, my fifth grade teacher, at Will Rogers Elementary, small town, Duncan, Oklahoma, about 20,000 people or so. Um, and, you know, there weren't very many Carlos running around the school. Okay. So just my brother and I, who are the two, that just looked very differently. We were still learning English. But Ms. Wilcoxon did an incredible job of going out of her way and highlighting assets and things that I carried with me that I didn't really give a lot of value to. One of them was like my language, and she really highlighted the fact that, man, you're so lucky. You're going to be able to speak 2 languages, and I'm only going to be able to speak one. And that meant so much to me. The other thing that she went out of her way was um, she would share the progress that I was making on a daily basis, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and really kind of highlighted the fact that I had a really good work ethic and I was willing to work hard at something and learn. And that stuck with me. And so at a moment where I didn't really knew if I belonged in school or, school was for me, she went out of her way to really highlight the fact that I not only belonged in school, but I could actually succeed. And that's the reason why I came back and was an educator, because I wanted to be a Miss Wilcoxon for other kids as well. So anyway, I still look at that kid and I still kind of
Mhm.
smile of where life has taken me, but it's been an incredible ride and I owe so much to education.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for being here. My background is also education, so I'm really excited to be on this panel with you guys. I was a Teach for America teacher in Houston ISD, brought me to Houston, and then worked on the other side at University of Houston with preparing teachers and those things before coming to the Houston Endowment. One teacher that was really influential in my life is Cheryl Montgomery. She was also a high school chemistry
Mhm.
teacher, but more importantly for me, she was the coach for the Odyssey of the Mind team, which
Mhm.
was a competition team focused on problem solving and creativity. And that team and those experiences played a lot in my life. It was my first, we went to nationals. That was our first kind of college visit. We went to UT, but the wrong one. We went to Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, not Texas, for not as a college visit, but as a competition. But we stayed in the dorms and were really exposed to that. Also, she helped me and others with our application to a magnet school, the Mississippi School for Math and Science, which allowed students to go and stay at a boarding school their junior and senior year and get advanced math and science courses that weren't available in my hometown in Mississippi. And from our high school, my year, 4 students, all 4 in the picture that you guys aren't seeing, but the listeners are. Um, 4 students went to that school, myself included, which was a really big number. And so she just really opened up opportunities for her students. Uh,
Right.
yeah. So before we thank you guys for sharing that. And but let's get into grow your own programs. We know how important teachers are. So Carlos, can you tell us a little bit though about what is grow your own and what do we mean when we say that?
Yeah, so grow your own programs, or that term you hear a lot, but it's really an umbrella term to help capture lots of different programs that work to identify local talent and create pathways for them to enter these pathways and eventually enter the classroom as a fully trained, fully certified teacher. So some of the talent that they tap into, these might be high school students, paraprofessionals, support staff, career changers, people from the community that want to give back. And so it's really thinking about how do we find how are we able to kind of find new pools of talent to help fill the teaching needs that we have to identify more educators. But it's really kind of strengthening the connection between the community where our schools are at and the talent that's in those communities and help them providing pathways to become teachers. Now, the one thing I'll highlight, we'll probably get into this a little bit more later on, is that it also provides financial supports, opportunities for these candidates to earn and learn while they're doing that. So we believe that no teacher should have to go into debt to become a teacher, and so many of these programs are offering the opportunity to do that.
Awesome. How long have these types of programs been around?
Yeah, so they've been around for about 20 years now. Originally, they started off in Chicago,
Mm.
in a community where there was a need for bilingual teachers, and so when they looked around, it's like, okay, who do we have that can actually, speak Spanish to for our bilingual programs? Where they realized that there was lots of folks in the community, lots of folks invested in students' education, but they had no opportunity to actually become a teacher. So the school stood up these programs to offer an opportunity to train community members to eventually enter the classroom as a fully trained, fully certified teacher. So they've been around for a little bit. But again, the thing that still at the center of these is connecting with community members, finding folks who want to become teachers, and creating those pathways for them.
Okay, so it's not a new concept, but just to give some context for the listeners, a really important piece of legislation was signed into law June 4th of this year, House Bill 2, and it's a monumental bill for education in Texas. $8.5 billion, and it's the first time that Texas has established allotments dedicated specifically to teacher preparation. The bill secured funding for residencies and these grow your own programs. We're talking $8 to $12,000 per candidate for these types of programs. And so I expect we'll be hearing a lot more about grow your own programs in Texas in the coming years.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the other thing that a lot of people will highlight with House Bill 2, and I think one of the most urgent things is that it phases out districts being able to hire uncertified teachers for certain grade levels and certain content areas. So I'm sure the districts, if they had a busloads full of certified folks, they would hire every single one of them, but we just don't have that right now. So we have to think about what are innovative ways to find talent to fill those classrooms that need to be trained, that need to be taught by a certified teacher. So we think that House Bill 2 has the opportunity to do that through some of the grow your own allotments that they're going to be stood up over the coming years. But I can't emphasize this enough that we need to try innovative pathways of actually connecting with more talent. We have just such a large number of uncertified teachers currently working in our schools. People who are, have raised their hand and say, "I want to become a teacher. I want to give back to my community," but we need to provide those pathways for them to enter the classroom fully certified. Just to kind of give some statistics real quickly. So last year, close to 60% of the new teachers entering the workforce were uncertified. And currently about 12% of our teachers in our schools are still uncertified. They're on their pathway to becoming certified, but they still need lots of support. So I expect we'll hear more about that in the years to come as we start implementing more of these House Bill 2 initiatives.
Yeah, some people are calling this a crisis, and I really think that, um, that it is. Dr. Z, how have you seen the teacher workforce change in your time as an administrator?
So, it's changed a lot over the last several years. I wanna go back, though, to something that all of you have said, because I listened intently with the teacher that you connected with, right? Somebody who spoke the language you felt like with your friends in high school. Somebody who saw your difference, your diversity, and helped you celebrate that and the importance of that. Somebody who, connected with you not just in the classroom, but through Odyssey of the Mind. That's what makes a special person that educator. That so many, or for me, somebody who allowed me also with a difference, right? Allowed me to bring a dog into the classroom, right? Each and every day. The teachers, I hope and I believe that Grow Your Own is creating and offering opportunities for those teachers that kids will remember for years and years to come, right? So much has changed. And a lot of it is, we could talk for more than the time we have now about the political landscape, and that has changed a lot. It's affected a lot. But more than that, I think the perception, and it's something that we continue to strive to ensure that people recognize that I can't say it any better than Krista McAuliffe said before her ill-fated Challenger mission. Krista said, first educator to attempt to go into space, she said, "I touch the future, I teach." How true that is. She went on to say, education is the profession that makes all other professions possible. So when you think about that simple set of words together, it truly is the education profession that makes doctors and lawyers and every other profession that we know of. But we need to remember and value and ensure that society continues to remember and value the importance of the profession that we're all connected to. And I think that we've lost our way to some degree as a society, not the educators. We've always known the importance and the beauty. Once you're an educator, I think you're always an educator, and you have that special bond because you are creating the future,
Yeah.
right? That's part of our vision statement in Tomball ISD. And it is important that we remember that the value of having a fully certified, a prepared teacher in every classroom is so important. That's one of the things amongst many that I love about this program because it's helping us find that way, find those people that are already currently connected to our system in Tomball, in other districts, that for life circumstances, perhaps married young, perhaps had children too young, perhaps had financial circumstances that didn't allow them to complete. They were halfway there or very close. This is changing the trajectory of their lives, the lives of their whole families, right? And definitely the lives of the children that they're impacting. And so, to your question, a long way around, a lot has changed and a lot of it concerns me. And as I look to the end of my career, we all have to face retirement at some point. And at some point, when that happens, I hope that the shift that I'm seeing now through the help of Grow Your Own and others, that we will continue to elevate in the minds the presence of what is so important, that educators should be valued and revered as they were in the past because of what they do for our entire society.
Yeah. Carlos, can you tell us a little bit about kind of the Grow Your Own programs, that this initiative that we've been looking at, and how that might kind of play into this elevation of teachers?
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to do when we started looking at the data and we saw like there were so many, um, there was such an increase in the uncertified teachers who were, having to be hired, right? We wanted to see, okay, what are some innovative ways that we can actually identify other folks who want to be in the classroom, who want to be trained, who want to get their bachelor's degree, their credential. And one thing that when we started looking at the data, we realized that there's actually, talent pool that's already inside of schools at times. Paraprofessionals, like you mentioned, maybe support staff who may aspire to say, okay, you know what, I could contribute, to a child's education as well. Sometimes these are even parents, right? Folks who are, very close to it, and they're saying like, "You know what? If I had an opportunity to go back and work and go to school at the same time, I might, take you up on it." So when we started looking, we started asking districts to start surveying how many people have a bachelor's degree or sorry, an associate's degree, how many people are close to getting a bachelor's degree. We realized that For some of our larger districts in our region, these were hundreds of people that we have in our system. And so we wanted to figure out, how do we take that talent, provide support to the districts through technical assistance to say, okay, what would it look like to actually start giving shape to this? And so we partner with an organization called National Center for Grow Your Own, where they came in and partnered with some of our local school districts to say, here's what we know about Grow Your Own programs, what works, how to structure it. Eventually, maybe even thinking about how to register those as a registered apprenticeship program. And so that's where Tomball comes in. They were so willing to say, yes, we're willing to innovate. We're willing to figure out how we can connect with our community members to help them become teachers. And they did a great job identifying 2 higher ed partners who are willing to go on this innovative pathway journey with them as well. But we have University of Houston downtown, who serves um, as their higher ed partner, along with Texas Women's University, to provide opportunities, meet these candidates where they're at. They could look at their past transcripts and say, hey, well, there's an opportunity for us to meet you where you're at. I think we will probably learn more about or hear more about things that the higher ed partners needed to be aware of and maybe shift their practices. So it was just really an opportunity for lots of willing partners to come together and say, hey, how can we actually meet these candidates where they're at and start building out some of these pathways with them? So we're excited about the initial possibility as well. Now with House Bill 2, some of the tailwinds that might be opened up as a result of that funding. So yeah, for us, I think it comes back to, how do we can find innovative ideas, find courageous partners who are willing to come and do this work and help improve it along the way by partnering with research partners to help us learn and improve those.
That's awesome. So you partnered with Tomball, and we also in that first round partnered with Aldine and Spring as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of how that partnership evolved in Tomball with the universities?
Yes, so we looked at a number of universities, but like any partnership, you have to look to see which one is going to be the best fit. And we've
Mhm.
been very, very pleased. The Tomball staff that works very closely and very hard with Carlos and others, and landed on the 2 that were mentioned. And it's been a great collaboration, from just the weekly updates, the support between our assistant superintendent coordinator with the staff here at Houston Endowment, but also looking to see what fits best. For example, perhaps you go down a path and you find that face to face is the most effective, or perhaps we might need some sort of hybrid, or maybe even switch to an online platform. That's when you know you have a true partnership. When the staff is confident and comfortable enough to say, hey, we're working all day. This has become a bit of a challenge. What can we do to ease that? Working with Houston Endowment, working through the partners. There's been some what I would call fluid changes,
Mhm.
and I love that, because the goal is to ultimately have them complete it. And so getting people and understanding that life happens and getting them to that goal takes that whole tribe, right? That whole village.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen. And that truly was what we were told at the beginning, right? We are going to be hand in hand, and not be so stuck on the path it has to be,
Mhm.
but let's see what we can do so that ultimately we have these additional certificated people, right? All of these certified staff members. One thing I want to mention, which is pretty unique, is that Tomball ISD actually has had certified staff members, even coming out of COVID, even with the challenges at the beginning of every year.
Mhm.
This has been a very proactive attempt to ensure that that continues to happen, because we're seeing a decline in the number of let's say, people going into majoring in education, number of student teachers that perhaps come to Tomball. We're seeing just that national and local, the state trend. So, not having this huge gap, but knowing all that the staff has had to do to ensure that that's the case. We wanted to work in this great partnership with such a wonderful, let's be honest, it's monetary partnership that has been very beneficial to the district and to the people. I have to say once again, I do believe that this partnership is changing the trajectory of the lives of our district, but of our staff and their children, because of the income and because of the the income that they will have, but because of the training that they're receiving through this partnership. So we couldn't be more pleased. I mean, truly, I've told many people about it. I don't know what the pathway of growth is for you, but we selfishly want to continue to be a partner and to continue to talk about ways in which we can make it even bigger, to scale, because it's been a very, oftentimes you'll be in a partnership and halfway through it, you find out, well, this doesn't quite feel that way. That's not been the case with this one.
Yeah, I think that's so important. What I keep hearing from Tomball and the other districts is just how important that communication and that collaboration is, and how
Yes.
this type of training and this type of partnership is allowing districts and universities or education prep providers
Yes.
to make adjustments in the way that they see candidates and the way that they provide support, and there's kind of adjustments on both
Yeah,
sides,
that's an
providing
important word, adjustment.
substitutes and time for people
Yeah.
to engage with the classwork, providing, alternate types of classwork so that people can both manage being a paraprofessional and
And
earning
rest of their life,
that
right?
wage, right?
Mother, wife, sister, son,
All yes,
brother,
all those
whatever it might
things.
be, right? Things
Um,
life happens.
and also, getting that education, and these, again, paraprofessionals who are already in the schools. We
Yep.
know that they're dedicated to those students and already pouring
Correct.
into them, but to allow them to get the credential to do that.
Yeah. It's never felt top down. It's always felt, in unison, hand in hand, locking arms, which is really a true collaboration.
That's really great. Monica, you guys conducted interviews with the school districts, with the education prep providers, and with the candidates themselves, and focus groups, and talked to all of these people. What has stood out to you in this first year of conversations that's going well?
I am happy to share that. And, a lot of the things that everyone's already spoken about or brought up really has shined through the data that we've been collecting from all these people, from the participants, from the university personnel, and also from the district personnel. So, really, I guess the first thing that I want to emphasize, because we've all talked about the participants, right? The teacher candidates, they have stated the true appreciation for this program. It has really been impactful to them. Many of them saying that it has always been a lifelong dream to become a certified teacher, but it wasn't maybe financially feasible for them to do so. So having this program is very important to them, and they have really expressed their appreciation, and they really see the value of it. So helping them get to their dream, right? Helping them achieve what they want to do. And they are from the community, just like you've mentioned, they're from that area. Many of them are already employed in the schools, a paraprofessionals, so they're committed. They're committed, and there's really a true sense of belonging with them. That's kind of the sentiments that's coming through when we're talking to them. Um, they do want to give back to the community, and that's a big note that they keep repeating to us. So that's really good. They also say that they are feeling very well supported from the district staff and the university personnel that are guiding them through this whole process. So that's wonderful. I mean, it's been a good start from the get go in that regard, from year one, right? Another notable item that has come through, and you alluded to it, Dr. Z, you said that the growth mindset of the district personnel and the university personnel, they're willing to grow together to find ways to improve and adapt as we're going through this process. So they've really set out to be as supportive, committed, and flexible as they can be. Right. So that was another one. They have also, between the school districts and school district personnel and the university personnel, have been really open and establishing really good conversations with each other. Some of them on a weekly basis, and that has evolved as this first year has grown. It didn't start off that way. They would have their check-ins here and there, and then but because they're so committed to supporting the participants, they've realized we need to have a continuous dialogue to learn and to improve and to show their commitment. And it seems to be working very well because the participants are feeling that support.
That's great.
Mhm.
That's really great. Um, can you talk a little bit about the flexibility of the grow your own model? You talked about some adaptations, but what are some of the things what are those adaptations that you saw in the first year?
Yes, for sure. There's some changes happening for continuous improvement. And Dr. Z also mentioned the online courses. You have to, or evening courses, different things, because you have to remember that these participants are not the traditional university student, right? They all have full-time jobs, right? And many of them have young families or they're caring for elderly at home. So the considerations of the universities to have online classes or evening classes it's key to success. Otherwise, the participants wouldn't be able to do it. And many of the participants in the first semester did struggle with that. Realizing that they had to drive all the way across Houston after work, and or Houston traffic. um, it was a barrier for them. They could not get to class. They could not do this on their own. So but the universities being willing to be flexible and helping guide the students to the right courses has been key to success. Another flexible note is the implementation of the grow your own programs themselves. There are, very different pathways, as Carlos had mentioned. This program initially began as a 2-year program, 2-year path, meaning that the participants were having to take all their coursework, their certification exams, and their residency in that 2-year time frame. For many, that was almost impossible. And some were, it was a challenge. It was a stress. So the universities, the school district have been working with the teacher candidates, on a case by case basis, and maybe being flexible in the timeline, maybe making some accommodations for coursework to still try to meet that goal, but being flexible with those pathways, and we've seen many other grow your own programs in other states that have a variety of pathways from 4-year, 3-year, 2-year pathways. So being able to that flexibility is kind of coming through and allowing a good, um, a little bit less stressful journey for the teacher candidates in this program.
That's excellent. Thanks. And so, Dr. Z, how is that playing out in Tomball? I know that many of these teachers are on their journey, right?
Right, right.
We're still in the
Ongoing.
of the first year, but do you have any kind of success stories or things that come to mind from this first year of implementation?
I do. I do. I have a story in particular in working with our staff, our lead on this, Dr. Alicia Reeves, and the team. They shared a story. I wasn't there when this happened, but we had one of our participants who had a young baby. Very young, almost I think a newborn. And as she was completing the paperwork, that skill of trying to do this, and you've got the baby, you're probably a little fussy, who knows. And one of the staff members from Tomball just kind of came over and said, "Let me help you. Let me hold the baby." And the participant, the staff member, she could just kind of relax and get that paperwork done and not feel the need to hold the baby at the same time. There was going to be time for that when she was doing classwork later, I'm sure, or they couldn't step in. But there was just that when I heard that story, it felt like that was the beginning of, "We've got you." Like, we can't make everything in life easier, but we can help you as much as we can. And I think that's very symbolic of what this program is. Really just like going in there and cradle when you can and say, "You're not doing this alone," right? And so that's just it's a story that was shared with
Yeah.
me that stayed in my mind. The beauty of just collaboration and the willingness of people to help others.
Yeah. I love that. I love that kind of idea that what we want to do is support these teachers
Right.
as they're on their journey. But it is the first year, and so
Yeah.
There are always kinks in the first year of a program. Monica, what kind of surfaced opportunities to improve and to continue to improve this program in
uh,
this first year?
Yeah, well, our evaluation approach is actually built on a developmental model, which allows us as the evaluation team to provide real-time feedback to the universities, to Houston Endowment, to the school districts, and the participants. So, because of that, as we've seen already through the first year, there has been improvements as we're going along. The universities are and the district personnel are, recognizing, well, that didn't go so well. So how can we improve this process, right? So from little things, to big things. So because of that continuous open conversations that they're having with the feedback that we're receiving through this evaluation process, um, things are improving as we're going. So that's great. So I've mentioned a few of them, but a few more specific items is the review of the participants' transcripts. The school districts were reviewing the participants' transcripts as they were enrolling into the program. So they would use this as, some of the selection criteria for them to join the program. And then the next step was the universities would review the transcripts to make sure everything to satisfy the admissions requirement. Well, a lot of times the outcomes of the reviews didn't line up. So it did cause some disappointment, some frustration with the participants, and now, as a big step for improving the process, that review is being done collaboratively. So the university personnel are sitting in the same room or virtually sometimes, with the school district personnel reviewing transcripts together. It's also helping the districts understand what the admission requirements, all the details behind all the admission requirements for the teacher preparation programs, and helping the everyone just understand that timeline of the admission process to the university. So because of that change, that was a big improvement, and year 2 is really starting off, much more smoothly than before. So that's just, one example. Another example, of a improvement that is taking place right now, is that the districts are doing, really emphasizing fostering the relationships and building a supportive community um, earlier in the program. So one of the school districts this year for year 2 started off with a welcome breakfast, and all the candidates came together with the campus principals. And so they had opportunity to meet face to face. So the principals knew who these teacher candidates were that were, maybe going to be on their campus in the next couple years, and just started building that support early on. That idea of having that breakfast actually stemmed from feedback we received at the end of the first year on the evaluation, that a couple of the or some of the participants from year 1 said, really would like to connect with the campus administration earlier and build more of a that cohort support. So, the district paid attention and made it happen. And so, like I said, all these continuous improvements going along with that real time feedback and everyone having open conversations and continuous conversations really gi- hopefully gives us all a lot of confidence that we are off to a strong start in year 2, and will continue to grow and improve as we go.
That's great.
Yeah, that's been one of the things that I'll just kind of jump in real quickly. It's been great to also just see some of the silos being removed. And now we have, K-12 doing a better job of partnering with their IHE partners and working together. So it's a mutual benefit for each other, but more importantly for the candidate. So that's been great to just see that level of collaboration and relationship building that takes place to make a true partnership, really lived up to its potential.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah. And so how is that playing out in Tomball? I know that I saw you jotting some notes, so I
Point. I didn't want to leave anything out.
so I know that some of those changes are things that you've already mentioned. Um, but what are you hearing from your staff and your stake your
So a little bit more about Tomball to make the connection, right? And I am very close to Dr. Goffney. Latanya and I are dear friends, and of course, Dr. Quad, the new superintendent. Craig and I have known each other since our HISD days, many years ago. And so, in hearing about the principal partner breakfast, I'm thinking perhaps we could do something to celebrate all of them and find a way maybe to host something and have all of them come together in celebration at some point. But in Tomball ISD, we believe that we are not just a district, but a destination. And not just a destination, but destination excellence. So when you think of excellence, what does that mean? I think that's everything we're describing, right? We also love to say we want for every child, but we could say every person perhaps to find a place to belong, a passion to pursue, and a love for learning that serves them well beyond the time they are with us, right? Those are all very important factors. When we think about this principal partner breakfast, Tomball, others may have done that as well, but recognize that it was important to make that connection. And I think that that's where you do see, oh, this is the person I'm working with. This is that you feel as if you know them better when you've met them outside. And something about breaking bread, spending that time to have a meal
Yes.
together, some coffee, whatever it might be. I think that that's truly important. And so we will probably find things like that, little tidbits along the way that make this experience better. But that's from listening to everybody involved, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's
sure.
the district as a whole, the campus level, our staff that's working together with Houston Endowment. But what I love and what I've been able to gather from the three of you is that everyone has that willingness, and of course, university partners, to make this experience all that it can be so that when they come out, they will say, you have to become a part of this to other paraprofessionals and other people so that this continues to grow and is very sustainable.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too. So we are actually coming not all the way to the end, but closer to the end. And so when we started promoting this episode, people immediately started submitting questions. And so I'm gonna kind of
Okay.
give you a couple of questions.
Okay.
And so one of the questions was, what are the ways that individuals and organizations in Greater Houston can support and advance this work of Grow Your Own?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been doing alongside several partners is that we're convening this community of practice that meets about once a quarter, and these are districts partnering with their IHE partners and coming together, looking at data and saying, okay, how are we going to make bridge some of these gaps that exist currently in the teacher workforce? And so we've highlighted some of these initiatives that we've gotten started. As a result of that, we've had other folks who've leaned into this. So I would say that, if people are interested in this, definitely checking out the community of practice. We're also trying to figure out how to do a better job of sharing the learnings that we have. We're next month actually we'll have a session here, inviting people to come and learn alongside our partners that this is happening. And then the last thing I'll say is that this is something that we're kind of talking about all these kind of community members coming together and saying, hey, if we put our heads together, we can actually make this better for everyone, right? So one thing that we've noticed is that there's actually some of the Grow Your Own candidates have become the best ambassadors for that.
Oh, love that.
They're recruiting people, in those districts, saying, hey, have you heard about this thing?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, hey, I want to hear about that. So we've been able to actually grow more of those opportunities, and some of them have become very, very organic. To the point now where we're excited about the House bill to grow your own allotments, because this will allow all the districts in our region to have up to 40 candidates who could qualify for grow your own supports. And so we're really fortunate that we've had some trailblazers along the way helping us kind of get a head start on this, taking that learning and bringing that back. And so we're excited about that. So maybe look for more opportunities for us to come together as a community and share about what's working and what else we could be improving.
I couldn't agree more. Perfect segue. I love the word you use, which is organic, and that's a great word that comes to mind when you think about how being an early adopter, right, or trailblazer, as you said, to see this happening. I heard you at the beginning, Carlos, you mentioned that this actually started in Chicago. I was just there earlier this week for a few days for a national summit. I would love to do more of this. Anytime I speak now, Grow Your Own gets its own slide and I talk about it. So what does that mean? That means community members in Tomball or education community members in the field of education hear about it. But I need to do a better job of, if I'm even speaking about it at a national level, talking about this so that more people hear about it, want to become a part of it, whether it's to grow more future educators or perhaps an additional funding source. I think word of mouth is important, and we have a great story to tell. We need to tell it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll kind of come back, which maybe remind me of that, we actually don't have enough research yet about grow your own programs. We know anecdotally that they have a big impact, but there could be more research done. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to, have a better job of seeing the impact that the investment that Texas is making around these programs. That learning will just become, broader and impact and more impactful.
Yeah, I think that's great as a researcher and evaluator. I love that. And I think that yes, as we do have some evidence of programs that have come before, but as we continue to build out these programs, seeing not just the impact on the teachers and their lives, but also their students'
Mhm.
lives.
Mhm.
One of the other questions that we got was if districts are trying to take this up, what advice do you guys have for them? What should a district who's embarking on setting up a grow your own program know?
Mhm. Actually, I'll jump in on this because we actually asked that question in one of our evaluation sessions with the district, saying, if you're giving advice to a new uh, school district coming in, what would you say? And they really stress the importance of having a good plan and prep time before just jumping in,
Yeah.
right? Having the communication with the higher education institutions that are going to be their partners, really laying out that groundwork. What does it look like? How are we going to communicate? And just having more time at the start. And then in turn, that gives them everything they need to communicate the expectations to the teacher candidates ahead of time, so that when the teacher candidates or potential participants sign up, they know exactly, what's in store. So that's one thing I would add, and that comes from the mouths of the district personnel working on here is just a good planning time and partnering with their education provider partners.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds great. I think you're really, really on point though, as far as the partners, because I know initially we looked at a number of them and had to figure out, which one would work
Mhm.
best. And that comes with the planning time that you
Right.
talked about and doing your homework up front.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What are some of those key things that you were looking for in a good partner as a district?
I think flexibility, right? Transparency, like tell us what you can or can't do, what you want or don't want, what you need or don't need, just to have that dialogue, to
Mhm.
enter into that relationship with the cards out on the table and not suddenly find out, oh, you now need this. Oh,
Mhm.
because that shifts and changes things for people. And we didn't want to have that negative connotation
Mhm.
or that feeling of we've asked people to participate in something and suddenly we change the rules of engagement. That hasn't happened here, and I love that. What we've promised them is transpiring.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just add one thing that I think is kind of stood out for me is that we talk a lot of times about like um kind of the new traditional college student, especially the new traditional college trained teacher. And that looks very different than it did even from a few years ago. But I think what one thing that you're kind of highlighting is that the partners that are in this work with us, they realize that how they've always done this work is not always getting us what we want.
Right.
So what are the opportunities to make small, not too disruptive changes, but still be accommodating, keep moving the work forward.
Mhm.
And so I think, I would encourage people to look for those types of partners who are willing to walk with you and keep improving the systems that exist now, so they can actually be responsive to more candidates.
Yeah. One thing that we haven't really touched on, but did come up in some of our questions was as we think about this grow your own model, what opportunities are there to integrate kind of other ways of learning and teaching, maybe about some of the things that we know teachers need to do, and all of our teachers were doing, and being adaptive and responsive to students, trauma-informed practices, family engagement, holistic student support. How does Grow Your Own provide opportunities for that maybe other pathways may not? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
So, in the field of education overall, you're so much more than a classroom teacher. When we think about wraparound services and meeting students, not just on the educational side, but what they need for character development, social emotional needs, and true, the wraparound services. I think that the partnership has just continued. They're getting exposed to everything while in the classroom, and I'm sure those conversations are taking place. Although I'm not there, as part of the lessons, but it's embedded in the work that we do, whether you're in Tomball or Aldine or Spring. I know we're all doing great work in this area because now it's not just meeting back when we were in school, right? Meeting our educational needs. It's so much more. We expect more from educators today. We need more. And that's why important collaborations like this are so vital for the future so that people don't burn out and don't feel like
Yeah.
they weren't adequately prepared. I think we are preparing them for we are preparing students for jobs that don't even exist today. That's hard. That's a hard target to meet, to hit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every day I learn of something that I'm like, yeah, what exactly is that? And how much money are they making? So it's really it's difficult, but it's beautiful all at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the one really quick thing I'll add, I know we're coming up on time here, but as we think about supporting these teachers, a lot of times we keep talking about day one ready, right? And for many times, we're trying to squeeze as much as possible into that teacher preparation experience. And most of the time, it happens in that last year during the residency program.
Yeah.
There's just not enough time in that 1 year to feed everything in. I think these Grow Your Own programs have the opportunity to actually start earlier with people, to start surfacing like all the different ways that an educator meets the needs of a student. And we just haven't caught up just yet around like, what does it mean to actually be able to, do social emotional learning? And could we provide like the third year focus on that? And they could walk away with some sort of, micro credential that says, hey, you've kind of got the specialized training on that. We just haven't caught up that way. But I really believe that these Grow Your Own candidates, if we believe a 1 year residency is great, then a 3 year, 4 year Grow Your Own program is even better because it gives people a longer on ramp to into the classroom.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this conversation has just been so rich, and I'm so excited and energized to hear about these types of programs that are taking community members, teachers, and giving them the opportunity to become certified teachers. And so they're not just, buzzwords that we hear. These are really community driven solutions, practical solutions that are opening doors for people who are already in the community, but providing them with reduced financial barriers and creating classrooms where students are able, like you guys were, to see community members as their teacher, to really see themselves as the teachers in the future. And the payoff is going to be so big for these teachers and these districts, and especially for the students. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And I also want to thank our listeners for joining us on this very first episode of Upstream. We hope that listeners, you'll keep tuning into us as we continue to go straight to the source to connect with change makers in our community and in Greater Houston. Until next time, I'm Sarah Jones, and this is Upstream.